Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Our patient today, or not really a patient, but our subject is a MSI Z170A. This is very similar to the other board that we worked on, which didn't see the memory, right? There were bent pins and it didn't see the memory. And in the documentation, I read that it's compatible with ECC memory. But does it mean that it won't read non-ECC memory? I kind of thought that it's, you can use ECC memory, but normally it works on non-ECC. But is that even possible? Can the board support both ECC and non-ECC memory? I have no idea. So I ordered one, I think this is 8 gig stick of ECC memory. Now very quickly, what's the difference? ECC stands for error correction. The board holds one extra chip, right? So usually you have 8 chips on one side, 8 chips on the other side, or 16 chips on one side and 16 on the other side, or sometimes just 8 chips on one side and that's it. With ECC memory, it's going to be 9 chips. It's always going to be one extra chip, and that extra chip is used to detect error in the memory, in the data that has been read, and it can also correct the way the checksum works. It not only tells you that there is an issue, but it also gives you the tools to know which exact bit needs to be flipped, and there's up to like some number of bits that can be corrected. If it's more than that, then you can no longer correct it. So on average they are I don't remember, about 3% slower than non-ECC, and usually the server solutions use ECC memory because it improves stability. But that was the other board. Now this one should be compatible with regular non-ECC memory. That's what we have over here. 2 sticks for 8 gigs each, DDR4, and the fastest, which is 3200, which means there should be. No, it doesn't say, but I don't remember what the exact frequency is on 3200, but it's, or maybe it is not the, no, it's 3200, that's the highest, right? I don't remember. For the CPU, we have i5 7th generation, decent. I think I got it for about $40, maybe 50. No, they usually go for that. I think I got it cheaper because I just made an offer and the seller took it. Either that or I was bidding. In either case, I got a pretty good deal on that CPU. The memory also pretty good deal coming from China, so I had to wait a few weeks for it to get there. We have a new heatsink with the fan. And this is supposedly with copper core, which does not seem to be the case. Maybe it's not. It doesn't seem. Usually you can tell because the color is different. But I don't know. Maybe this one does have copper core, but it's just not visible. And these are regular. Okay, so this should work. Now the board itself, what's wrong with the board? There should be nothing wrong with the board because again I bought it some time ago for I think around $50-$60, something like that. Normally I buy broken boards for around 20 bucks. I usually don't go above $30 for damaged board. And I prefer the ones that only have bent pins, and all you gotta do is just bend the pins to position and the board works. In some cases. In other cases that Asus we had, our board was at Gigabyte, Oris. Yeah, we corrected the pins, but the board starts and reboots. Something else is wrong with it. We tried BIOS and that didn't change anything. Now with this one, let's take a look at the socket. So the socket looks good, only with one exception. What is this? What is this here? Like some kind of fiber. Yeah. When I looked at it, it seemed like it has bent pins, but it was just that fiber. It's still kind of, when you look at it at a certain angle, it still looks like there's something wrong around here, but I don't see anything under the microscope, so that might be, you know, this has been used. So the CPU has been sitting in that socket, so the pins might be slightly offset, but that's fine. So now let's take a look at the board. Let's give it a closer look. So we have pretty standard here. The coils, these are hiding 2, 4, 6, 7. So first 4 will be V-Core, then 2 will be GT, and 1 SA maybe. And here V-Core, and that small one, that's going to be either SA or IO, and we have one more over here, so maybe that's the IO or VA or SA. And we have four slots, hopefully for non-ECC memory. And this is pretty cool because we have the LEDs. Right, these are LEDs, right? They kind of look like capacitors. PCH, VCC IO, VCC SA, DDR, GPU, and CPU. Very nice. This is very expressive. This is the memory coil. That's what supplies our memory with power. And on top of those LEDs for diagnostic, we have a nice little display. So again, if that displays something and the board doesn't boot, then we can read the code, know exactly what it gets stuck on. It's basically a built-in postcard. Very nice. And we do have a lot of SATA connectors. 1, 2, 3, so 6 SATA can go here. But if this works the same as so far in my experience, if you connect NVMe over here, then you can no longer connect to one of these. Right, so they're kind of bridged. This is the 2 outputs for the one controller. We do have 1 full-size PCI Express, 2 half-size. Okay, plus 1, 2, 3, 4 tiny ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 full size and 2 half size. So we can connect pretty decent hardware to it. We have 8-pin connector for V-Core, so decent CPUs can be operating on this board, and not much as far as the outputs or the inputs. USB-C, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 USB, regular USB. This one's 3.1. I'm guessing these are 3.0. We have DVI monitor output and HDMI monitor output, and obviously the digital sound output, which is very useful. I utilize it. Now, is this should be USB 3, yes, USB 3 connector over here. A little bit unfortunate. In other boards it's mounting from the top, not from the side. It's, I don't know. I mean, maybe for cable management it's better when it hooks up from the side, not from the top. That might be the reason why this is done this way. We'll see. Now we're gonna connect NVMe with Windows, and if the board boots and everything, then we're gonna put it in the new case. I have a new case here. Unfortunately, it comes with 3 fans, but I have only 2 complete screw sets for the fans and 1 screw for the third fan, and unfortunately no more screws. The packet was torn open and the screws fell. I still have a box, so which I actually used for other garbage, so I don't know if I want to dive in there to look for 3 screws, if they're even there, but maybe they'll be there. And the screws for the motherboard, and we have 3 distance 3 sockets, screw sockets, that we can attach over there, and we have to rearrange them to match the screw holes on this board. Now, important thing in my view is typically they're gonna be attached to these, right? These 2 and here, right? But in my view, it's important to also have a support on this side and this side, even more so than these middle ones, although middle ones also very important. And the reason is, when you connect the power supply, when you put in the memory and, you know, basically do the typical maintenance on the board, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure over here, and if there's no support on the other side, the board is going to be flexing, and eventually that might result in some very subtle damage to the board, which will be next to impossible to pinpoint what exactly is wrong. If there is only 1 trace, 1 broken solder joint, it's, you know, it's next to impossible to actually find it. I imagine you would need relatively customized tools and devices, test devices, to just kind of like on GPU to detect which line is not connected, right? Which rail or lane, which lane of PCI Express is not connected. So here, if, you know, the memory doesn't work because the board flexed and maybe there's some damage to the soldering, if you have such device, you can perhaps detect that one of the connections is not working. But even if you do find it, the repair is not gonna be easy. I mean, you can replace the whole slot. This is through hole slot, so probably there wouldn't be any issue like that on this one. But if it's a surface mount, which is rare, but it happens, then, you know, replacement of these things is a hassle. No no way around it. You're gonna have to spend some hours fighting with it, and you might end up with not working board either ways. I learned that from CPU socket replacement. It's not as easy as some YouTubers make it look like. Okay, so first let's remove the protector. Let's place the CPU. So majority of faults to the CPU socket result from the CPU drop. Basically, if you just as it sounds, if you drop the CPU onto the socket, you're gonna bend some pins, and sometimes very much so. So that is the most crucial piece of the procedure to place the CPU. So make sure you have steady hands, make sure you're not under influence, and just be gentle, be careful. Now I don't know which ones are, oh, there it is. So we got DIMM 1, DIMM 2, 3 and 4, so that doesn't tell me anything, but take a look at this. That is very useful. See, it tells you which slots to put the memory first. So we're gonna do just that. I don't know what this is for. I would expect it, judging by the thickness of the wire, that it's for LEDs. But why are they not charged or supplied from this connector? I have no idea. Took me a while to find the pinout. Normally the pinout of the panel is on the board. This one does not. So it's kind of weird. I mean, not weird, maybe slightly unusual, but not unheard of. Now if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have a serious egg in my face, because I bought it quite a few weeks ago and I just never got around to it. And so it's gonna be awkward trying to return it now after weeks. You know, suspicious to say the least. Alright, here goes nothing. Not even a flash. Or at least I didn't notice any. So let's try booting. We have flashing codes. It turned off, but this is usually normal. It started again. Now it's at 62. Yeah, so now we have a serious egg in our face. 62. Nothing on the display. So we have nothing on the display. That is too bad, because this was not supposed to be a broken board. It was supposed to be working board. Okay, so this is what Google tells me. The CPU is not supported, which I don't know, kinda, you know, it's i5 7th generation. How old is this board? 7th generation of i5 is not anything super recent. You know, if it was 14th generation or 11th generation, maybe I would consider that, but in 7th generation, doesn't seem like a recent one. And we have three options. So this board allows you to update BIOS. I think you just put in the flash drive with the BIOS, and it just detects it and does its thing. On some boards you have a dedicated button for updating BIOS, but we can just clip onto the BIOS and flash it, right? Find a shop that does. But do I just update the BIOS region, or do I just flash the BIOS from the website? I was told that it's not the best solution to just dump the BIOS, or flash the BIOS off the website. But there is one way we can confirm whether this is the issue. Let's put in the i3, right? Yeah, it got warm, definitely. So let's hook up i3 here and see if it'll boot on i3. I would prefer to use the tools supplied by the manufacturer, right? The procedure supplied by the manufacturer. You download this, put it on the stick, hook it up, and click the button and the BIOS is updated, rather than flashing it myself. But if that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. It's not a big issue. And let's get i3. So this is i3 6th generation, was it? Yeah. i3 6th generation. There's no way the board is not compatible with this one. So if this was the issue, it should boot now. Yep, that was the issue. Okay. It says Intel i3 6th generation, DRAM frequency. All settings were reset to default values. And we can enter BIOS and stuff. So option number one, now having the compatible CPU, we can update BIOS, or we can flash it, which I would probably prefer. Well, as I said, I would prefer that there's just there's the button, update BIOS, and that's it. mFlash. So system will auto reboot and enter flash mode. Damn, this is nice BIOS. They really make them awesome nowadays. Okay, let me let me educate myself, because I've never used the flash tool. I always use the clip-on, but as per usual, and the BIOS chip is right next to the heatsink on the PCH, so I have to take the heatsink off the PCH to clip on to reflash the BIOS. But let me see if I can find a simple procedure to reflash the BIOS using the tools provided by the manufacturer, because that's always the best choice in my view. Okay, short few minutes later, I downloaded the BIOS, the latest BIOS from the MSI website. There's a link to the instructional video on YouTube, how to update it using the provided tools. So we're gonna do that, but before that I took off the heatsink, clipped on, and dumped the BIOS that we currently have on this board. The reasoning is very simple. If anything goes wrong, like say power cut in the middle of the procedure, then I can always revert the BIOS that was there and try again. And now could I clip on and alrighty, distractions. So what I did, yes, I dumped the BIOS, and if there anything goes wrong, I always have the BIOS to revert to. This is something I like to do ever since I had an issue like that, and I didn't back up the original content, and since then I've been asking myself, did I do something wrong, or because I couldn't check. Now I'll be able to revert. Anyways, so what I did, I put the BIOS from the website onto the drive, the USB stick. The USB stick is on. Let's boot the board. We are still on i3 CPU. Our USB stick is detected. So let's do F1 to run setup. Then let's go to mFlash, enter flash mode, yes. The board turned off, the board turned on. Entering flash mode, and this is our file. Yes, so we select the file. Are you sure you want to select this file? Yes. And BIOS is updating. So I imagine now if you had a power cut, you get corrupted BIOS. That's why now I can recover from it, because I can just flash the previous BIOS. But that is my whole point. Someone said that, you should never just take the BIOS off the website and flash it on. You should always use FIT and just replace the BIOS region, not the entire binary, which is typical for, this is what I do for Surfaces, Microsoft Surface devices, be it the Surface Pro, Surface Laptop, and because if you just replace the BIOS, you lose functionality. Some functionality is not going to work. But that is Microsoft Surface device, okay, custom device. This is a common board, right? So I would not expect the manufacturer to not allow you or to not provide the BIOS that you can just plainly write onto the chip and have working board, right? The reason is because it's different kind of device. The Microsoft Surface Pro and laptops, this isn't a part of the procedure. There's no way to update BIOS. I mean, you can download some updates from Microsoft and run them in the computer, and this is called platform update or something like that. So you can download some tools and do some updates, and I assume it updates the BIOS, but nothing beyond that. So if your BIOS gets corrupted, you're done. I mean, you're done. You can upload different BIOS, and sure, the computer is going to work, but some functionality is going to be missing. In case of Surface Pro 4, there's going to be no touch. So yeah, other than that, the computer works perfectly fine, but there's never going to be touch on it. So it will no longer be a touch device. But on boards like these, I really don't expect that, you know, I mean, maybe because this was suggested to me, right, that don't do that. But I'm thinking maybe if you if you want to preserve some, damn, this is cool. If you want to preserve some configuration and stuff, and you just want to update the BIOS region, then okay, right? Yeah, don't overwrite the entire binary, just update the BIOS region. Fine. But if you just replace the whole binary, it should still work. In my opinion, it should still work. That's what I would expect from the manufacturer. An operating system wasn't found. That is correct. But now, is it gonna see the i5 7th generation is the question. And moment of truth. Well, we have different behavior now. It's kind of like in the loop. The only code that flashes long enough is 55. There's C. Was it something D? It's hard to tell, but it is plainly not working. So is the CPU faulty? But after the BIOS update, so it was stuck on 62, right? We updated BIOS and it's no longer stuck on 62, but it just boot loops. I would call it boot looping, because it just keeps jumping around. Very unusual case. I mean, in my view, maybe if you guys know, maybe this is the common issue and the fix is simple, but what would be the fix beyond updating BIOS? The oldest BIOS update that I've seen on the board on the website is 2015. So the board, I assume, came around that time, 2014, 2015. And the latest update is from 2018, and which is what we have here right now. And it's going to be such an awkward conversation now with the guy that sold me that CPU, because it's been weeks ago, and at the moment I'm not sure whether it's the issue with CPU or not, but I don't know. I'll just ask him, like, how did you confirm it's working? Right? Like, what was the testing procedure? And actually, before we do that, let's get the NVMe and let's boot it to Windows and see what's up with that. I would like to, on this board, because what am I doing? I'm trying to build since I have all the components, I'm trying to build a budget gaming device and perhaps sell it. Stuck on 55. So maybe, yeah, maybe this is unrelated. So maybe our i5 is working fine. But after, yeah. So after updating the BIOS, it did boot it tried to go into Windows or tried to find the system, right? And it couldn't. Then I replaced the CPU, and now it's stuck on 55 on i3, and on i5 it goes to 55 and then around a few other codes. Isn't that weird? In that case, let's find this CMOS clear. And now we got 62. Stuck on 62 again. After the BIOS reset, or the CMOS memory reset, battery replacement, now it doesn't boot. Okay, I need to review this. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is revert to the original BIOS, the old one, and see if that makes any difference. Because right now, after clearing, it just doesn't boot anymore. Well, I don't have much time to work on this one, because I have to finish the side project I have. I want to finish it today. I stayed up till like midnight last night coding away on that one, and I want to finish it or get it to the working version that actually does what it's supposed to do, and go from there, collect my money and and start working on my resume and stuff. So I got a lot of stuff to do today, so we gotta take a break on this one. It's a very unusual case, but we're not giving up on it. Maybe we'll be able to fix it. In either case, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one, hopefully tomorrow.